Okay, everybody, I'm back in the shop. I know I said that I would probably wait a couple weeks to do a video on a shop tour, but I was able to get a helping hand today, and I'm going to take today to go ahead and go through what we have and where we're at. So let's get started. Okay, so to start off, I'm going to start from when you walk in the door, and we're just going to kind of work our way around, and we'll touch base on the center table, outfeed table, and work table. But to get everybody's perspective, is this shop is 24 by 24, so you have 576 square feet of space. So it kind of gives you a perspective. It's pretty tight, but it works for us, the flow of the work. So another thing is I will try to put all of the equipment I talk about in the description below, but I really don't remember a lot of actual, models and horsepower and things like that. But as I go around, I'll do my best to try and remember. But if you guys have any questions about the equipment that I have, I will respond with more information if you want. So where we start is we walk through the door, and directly above we have my electric heater. It's a Pro Fusion. I actually think it's discontinued at this point, but it does really well. I have that running in conjunction with our pellet stove, which you'll see when we work our way around. Depending on the temperature outside, I usually just use the electric heater, and then I run the pellet stove, and then I'll shut the electric heater off and let the pellet stove do the work. But it's super cold here right now, so I have them both running. It doesn't use a ton of electricity, but it is a 75 watt. So I mean, if you really wanted it to run all the time, even at a low setting, your electric bill, you're gonna see a big difference. But all in all, it works good, and I'm really happy with it. And then coming around, I have the Jet 1.5 horsepower dust collector. You can see in other previous videos how I actually have it hooked up. So far, so good. Everything about it is worked out really well. As you can see around, I don't have a ton of stuff piped to it, but what I do have is it actually works really well. You keep all your ports shut off and only use one at a time. It does really well. I probably wouldn't extend any farther than what I have, but all in all, I'm really happy with it. It's easy to clean, easy to empty, and really happy with it. Moving on along, I have the 14-inch Jet. Again, model number, I'm not quite sure, but this thing has been super helpful in the resaw capability. Dust collection is actually really good with it. I have it right next to the collector. There's two different ports for dust collection, but there's really not a whole lot to say. It's not used a ton, but when we do use it, it's awesome. Working our way around, we got a little work table. This is our 12-inch Wen, I think it's 12-inch, yeah, Wen bench drill press. When we need it, it's great. I think one of the biggest things I don't like about it is when you have to tighten the bed, I really have to crank on this. I would say if that's the only thing I have to say bad about this, I would say that's the only thing. You have to really crank on the handle, and then I can still move it around, but it's really not that big a deal. In this area here is mostly where my wife does all the lathe work, so I don't really do much over here. But this table here, she has a lot of her fixturing for the lathe, different bits, different chunks of wood, sandpaper, and miscellaneous stuff. And right here, I have a 6-inch Grizzly joiner. Let's say Geo 452 model. I actually bought this used for like 275 bucks, and we completely tore it apart. We cleaned it, rebuilt it. I put some new bearings in it, new blades obviously, and so far it's been actually really well. I think, as most people would say, it would have been nice to be an 8-inch joiner, but really for what we use right now, it does its job. Then of course we have dust collection hooked up. And moving along, we have my wife's big jet lathe. I'm actually not sure what model this is, but it's a beast. I had to anchor it down to the cement floor. It would really rock, but she's able to pivot this in different locations, adjustable RPM. She can do quite large pieces, and so far she's been happy with it. You can see here she has her tools. She's got dust collection. She's got her woodpecker tool. She's got some mini tools. She's got a spot for sandpaper. We got some pegboard. We got some other chucks. I actually made this. I just took a piece of 1x2, cut a slot, and she can move this dust collection. She can slide it all over, and yeah, it works out pretty well. It's kind of a tight spot, but it works. She's got wood storage. She's got more wood storage under the CNC, and that brings us to the CNC. This model is actually from Bob's CNC. For the price point, when I was looking for a CNC, everything was pretty expensive. I think at the time when I bought this, it was like 1,200 some bucks. It's got a 24 by 24 bed. The directions are really put together. Everything was easy to set up. The customer service there is top notch, and if you're really just wanting to get into basic CNC work, I would recommend this. I believe there are some limitations to something like this, but I know that I've checked out their website here recently, and their CNCs are growing, their limitations are growing, and they're expanding. I think there's a laser head that you can get for this and start doing laser work. But all in all, I do pretty basic signs, pretty basic engravings, and I don't need anything more extravagant than that. And then moving on over to this bench, I took an old work table and I put our sanders on here. I honestly don't use this really at all, but it's our rigid oscillating belt and belt sander combo. I don't really use it, so I can't really say much about it. I was gonna sell it last year, but I figured, you know, I'll just set it up with the cart, and if I need it, it'll be here. If I don't, then it'll just sit here. And next to that, I have a little Wen 1" by 30" belt sander with a 5" sanding disc. I don't really use this. A lot of this sanding stuff has been for my wife on the lathe specific. She uses this mostly. This comes in handy for little stuff. This is the one that I use the most if I would use anything at all. This is the Rikon, let's see, the 4" by 36" belt and the 8" disc. So this one comes in handy. It's got a lot of power, and I'm really happy with it. I have a little dust collection thing set up here. I have a dust right port, and I take an end here and I plug into whatever one that I'm using and plug my hose into that, and it seems to work pretty good. I think I have to shorten that hose though. That's 28 feet of hose, and sometimes it doesn't work out too well because of the length of hose, but it's not a big deal. And then coming around, I have a lumber rack. This really was needed recently. I purchased some wood from a family member, and this is all cedar. He gave me a really good price, and I couldn't pass. I don't do a lot with cedar, but I didn't want to pass it up. And I've made a few projects with it, but it works out really well. I've got some more cedar stacked up here, some odds and ends. And if you go back over to the other corner where we came in, I don't know if you guys saw, there was more wood over there. I've got some oak, I've got some leftover alder and things like that, but I'm getting to the point where I can't really have any more wood in here. So swinging on around, I have my clamp storage, pretty simple storage rack that I made. I think you can find lots of these online to build. But I've got some Bessie clamps, I've got some Harbor Freight clamps, I've got some Irwin clamps, I got some old bar clamps, I got Harbor Freight clamps. So, and then I've got some spring clamps. I wish I had more of the same of the Bessie, but those things are like super expensive. So at some point I'll grow that fleet. right in front of that, I have the DeWalt 734 planer. It's a great planer. The price was good. I wanted the 735, but at the time the price was pretty extravagant. But so far it's a good planer. I've got no complaints, and blades looked easy to change out, and yeah, there's nothing special about it. This one, I have a Jet 3/4 horse dust collector that is specifically for the miter saw, and when I do plane, I bring the planer kind of up this way, take the hose off, hook it up to the planer, and go that route. And that brings us to the miter saw station. So I have a Delta 12-inch saw. It does work really well at this point for what we do. I specifically just use this to break down rough lumber. I don't do any precise cutting with it because I have some issues where it wants to flex. And I've read that other people kind of have that problem, but it's really just breaking down big pieces of lumber, so I can't complain. I have the dust collection coming in on the side. It does work pretty well, actually, better than having it on the bottom, but as you guys know, with a miter saw you can't really stop it all. I've got simple storage down here, just a bunch of random stuff that I keep out of the way. No drawers in this, just big shelves. I've got some Rockler jigs. We've got our coping sled. We've got router table kit. We got doweling jig. We've got recently I got a bow tie kit. That's where I try to keep a lot of that. We've got some of our finishes. I got glue. I got mineral oil, mineral spirits, rust stopper, just some of your basic stuff. And in this cabinet, we don't really have much, but we were getting into resin. We were doing some casting, so I started to get some things in there. As you can probably tell, these are purchased cabinets. I really wanted to build my own cabinets, but really at the time, about a year ago, as you guys probably already know, lumber prices and everything was absolutely astronomical. So really, these were like super cheap. I think these were like 65 bucks a piece at the time. So I needed some storage. I needed it now, and that's what I went with. So I think maybe at some point, because I have high ceilings, I might build something better and maybe more adjustable, but it works for now. I have an old saw that my grandfather gave me up there. I've got an old plane, hand plane. I got my Milwaukee radio. I've got the eye socket auto switch for my miter saw here. There is a shop vac under here. I built this little wall because the shop vac is just really super loud, so I wanted to kind of block it. I think I might put some foam or something under there. As you move along, I've got my Milwaukee wall. I've been slowly kind of getting rid of a lot of my other brands just because it's easier to buy batteries for the same tool. But I've got your typical impacts and drills, and I got my 12 volt, I got my battery holders, I've got some 3D printed holders for that. I got an angle drill with a 3D printed holder. I've got my Milwaukee brad nailer with a 3D printed holder. Got my new pin nailer. That works out really good. My jigsaw, I got batteries and chargers. I also printed out some holders to hold these. Makes it pretty quick accessible. I have some bits that are kind of on the side here to quickly access that I use the most. So it works out pretty good. I got a speed square there, tape measure always here by the miter saw. So I try to stay as organized as I can. We'll move this out of the way for a minute. And then under here, I've got just some old random tooling in there. But I have my Makita track saw, which is a really great saw. I recommend it. In here, I've just got some random, I got a lot of my Dremel stuff. I got some angle clamps, got some brad nails, just kind of some random stuff that I need quick access to. The top drawer, I have a small square. I got a tape measure I keep in there. I got my Wixie angle finder. I've got some of that nice foam that I was able to put that stuff in, keep organized. I have this which I don't know where this one is, but I got my Milwaukee more cases in here for that, for my bits. I got my chisels. These chisels here are pretty bad shape. I need to resharpen them, but I like to just use them for getting rid of glue and stuff on some boards, so I'm not too concerned on them being too sharp. But I have some nicer ones here that I use, and I just got some random pieces of it. I got 3D printed stuff, I got some pin nails, some documentation, and a small fridge. Got another cabinet that's pretty much empty, but I keep my torch in there to start the pellet stove, which is nice, and I've got some documentation up there. I've got a shop vac that doesn't work anymore. I got a vac for the ash. I've got a pressure chamber, and then of course I have the pellet stove. I honestly don't know any model or anything of this pellet stove. We bought it from someone on Craigslist, and it was a really good price, and it was a perfect shop pellet stove, and we already burned pellets in our house, so I figured we just buy some extra pellets for the year, and this works out really well. I think right now it's 65 degrees in here, so it's good. And here I just recently purchased a Festool 26 CT dust extractor, and I have the ETS 125R. I actually did have the Rotex 90. I recently returned it. It was just way too small, and it was like 3.5-inch pad. So for now, I just went with a simple finish sander. And normally, I would never ever have bought this, but I was to a point where I had the means to try it. I wanted to try it, and honestly, I think it is absolutely fantastic. I sanded with it. You should probably always wear a respirator, but there was no dust in the air, there was no dust on the table. It was all getting sucked through the sander. So if you can bite the bullet, I would highly recommend it. I am in process of getting the OF 1010 router. I'm going to be doing some things with that, and I'd like to get a Rotex 125 on top of that, but that's purchases made down the road. We're going to kind of scoot back here. I have my typical, this is a router table from Rockler. I made the storage. I bought the plans online. I have simple router bit storage. I don't have a ton of router bits. I don't have I want to get the dust collection can at some point, because you can see just a lot of dust goes everywhere. There's a lot of things I want to do. I want to get the router lift, get the can, get dust collection on it better. I've got foam router, wrenches. I have things to help adjust the height, stuff like that. So all in all, everything that I need for the router is right here. So it works out good. And right now, as far as dust collection goes, I have this rigid shop vac that I just use. I just grab this, I plug it in the back, and it does a fine job. It's obviously not getting 100%, as you can see, but it works. I think I missed. So behind that, I just have the crosscut sled for the table saw hanging on the back of that. And I guess while we're standing here, I have my 1 3/4 horse saw stop professional cabinet saw. And this thing, can't say enough. Obviously, whoever owns one, it is the best saw that I've ever had. And I have absolutely zero complaints about it. It's accurate. It's just a really nice saw. I know a lot of people, it's a lot to chew as far as price, and it was like one of the biggest purchases that we made right off the bat, but it was the best purchase we ever made. With the technology that comes along with it, the saw itself, they're not just selling the technology. The saw itself is absolutely fantastic. So highly recommended. I know there's a lot of people anymore that are just, everybody's getting one, but yeah, highly recommended. Let's go around the wall. So cabinet, I got a step ladder, I got my crosscut sled, I've got a random hanger or something, I have no idea what's there. I've got I keep my rags in here. I got rubber gloves. This is empty now. I think I found this, Shop Nation is the guy. He's got a lot of good stuff. Check out his channel. Paper towel. I got my Craig jig that I keep on a French cleat, which is nice. Just put it on the table and hang it back up. I got my track from Makita hanging there. And I have my Milwaukee pack out system. So part of the business that I talked about earlier is part of that I was going and doing some flooring installs and stuff like that. But this pack out system is absolutely the best thing that I've ever had. I mean, everything that goes along with me. This particular one, I put my 12 volt drill and impact in here. I got room for my battery. I got my charger, my tool bag. I got everything in there that I need. I got my vac, carry that with me. I've got hardware and stuff in there. I've got my skill saw and everything in there. So everything that I need, and when I'm on the go, it all comes with me. So this stuff is another one of those where it can be expensive right off the bat, but it works. It works really well. I think DeWalt's got their own, and I think Rigid's even got their own, but I would highly recommend that. And then coming around, we have the Outfeed table / work table. And I haven't really changed anything with this. I did a video on this quite a while ago when I was first doing videos. One of the things that I only really added was I added some power here, and I added power on the other side because you can see that I have the conduit running up through the ceiling. And then I come down, and then I wired 4 outlets on each side, so that's actually come in really handy. But starting here, I have side slide out. I usually keep push sticks and some other fixturing in here, but right now they're on the saw. I've got blades on this side for my smaller saws. When I have spare blades for the table saw, they're in there. Just have a little spot that I store. Sometimes I got my bench cookies there. I've got some spare walnut that I need to do some projects with. I just keep some random things in here. I've got some paper I lay out when I do glue ups. I got my finish nailer. Just got a drawer with some safety gear in it. We got our masks. We got leftover masks. Got some gloves. I've got random hardware in here. I've got some epoxy powders that I use, Allen wrenches. And I kind of took inspiration for this table from, a dozen other YouTubers. So I kind of built it as I went. I never actually started. This is not just one plan that you can find online from somebody. I took, this section with the drawers here and the other side from one YouTuber, and then I added my own kind of unique twist to it. So I kind of built it as I went. So it seems to be working out. And I just got some other random hardware, Sometimes I need the stuff for in the house, but it keeps it close. I've got all my Craig stuff in here. I've got all the Craig jigs, clamps, bits, drill bits, all that in one spot. I've got more safety gear. I've got some just kind of miscellaneous stuff, if you will. Jigsaw blades. And I've got ear protection. I got some random cups. I got some old router bits that are junk, but I got a jig to put new blades on the joiner. So it's just kind of random. I got to go back through and get things organized. But then we come around. We have the more storage. This pretty much is the same on the other side. It mimics, but I just have some small things of storage. I got a big box of rags, another drawer full of things that I might need at the table. I got rubber mats. I need to actually clean that stuff out to see if I use it. But we've got pencils and pens and pick, paper, rulers, more hardware. I got all my I got some brad nails in those drawers. I've got my pocket hole screws. Just other hardware that I use. At the time before I upgraded my sander, I had all my sanding stuff here. So I haven't used it in a little while, but I still have all my sandpaper for my DeWalt here. And then of course I have my DeWalt sander in here right below it, a bunch of other sandpaper. So I'm not quite sure what I'm gonna do there. If I use the Festool, for the most part, everything's in the sustainers. So I'm not sure what I will do with this spot. Might just keep it for now. And I got my air compressor down there. But I've got some bins here that I have where this is the wood that I want to keep. This is the wood that we want to burn. And as you can see, I mean, we've got just various species of wood. Every time we try to organize it, it just becomes chaos later, but it's hard to get rid of wood. But that is pretty much it. Real quick on the structure though, I have, I can try to find the information on these lights too, but I have, let's see, I got 11 of these lights in here and it makes it super bright. I really like these things. I think Sunco is the company that makes those. And actually right below those, I forgot about the air filtration system that we have from Jet as well. And that works really well. But I can tell you, I put a brand new filter in it and in like 2 hours, the thing's ready to be changed. So it's kind of one of those necessary evils, but it's amazing what that thing can suck out of the air. But I have blown in insulation up there. I have, I believe, just 1-inch foam around the walls and just put OSB over that. And really, all in all, for as much as we're out here, it's comfortable. I mean, I really don't need to be out here in this today, but I wanted to come out and make a video and get this for you guys. Like I said, is I will do what I can to put anything in the description below for the machinery that I have. But if you guys have any questions of what I have, how's it working, if you're looking to buy one and you're hesitant of whatever I have, please feel free to contact me, send me a message, and I will give you absolute true review on the tools. And that's maybe something that I want to do down the road. I haven't had enough time on them to where I feel comfortable doing a complete review on them. I don't use some of these machines day in and day out, except the table saw. So that thing is used all the time. But yeah, hope you guys found this interesting and helpful, and maybe you can get your shop going with some of it. But again, if you have any questions, let me know. And yeah, we'll see you next time.